man, I spent $1 million on YouTube already. He was like, what?
Tommie Powers, AKA Tommie Traffic.
Nah, like I always knew when I was young I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I understood at a very young age that I didn't want to be working for or with people who don't know what they're talking about. I had a guaranteed job at NASA. Like my guy Neo say, either it's gonna work or it's gonna work.
Right.
And I just went all in. And he was like, you really think this is gonna work? I said, dude, I really think this will work. I figured out that strategy.
But I was like, hold up. Coca-Cola advertised. If McDonald's advertised, if Nike advertised, what make me think that we don't have to? Hey, what's up, family? Welcome back to the Traffic Sales and Profit Show. I'm your host, Lamar Tyler, creative founder of Traffic Sales and Profit. And if you're a black entrepreneur trying to figure out how to build your business or how to build wealth, you're in the right spot. Make sure you catch every single episode. But today is going to be a special episode because I got my man here, Tommie Powers, AKA Tommie Traffic,
yes, sir,
in the building. What's up, Tommie?
What up? What up?
So Tommie is your favorite advertiser's favorite advertiser.
all right, man. I like that.
So for what a lot of people may not know, right? Like, what do you reference yourself as? Like a paid media consultant or expert or traffic or advertiser? What do you?
I mean, my background is media buyer. Like I'm a media buyer by trade, right? Like I want to level up beyond that, but I'm still kind of operating in that media buyer lane, if you will, from a trade perspective. But I just put it out there and people call me, they however they see it. I kind of I'm everything that they want me to be on that.
If for the person listening, man, I know what a media buyer is. What's
correct.
A media buyer?
That just means we are experts at understanding how to place media and make it perform, right? So our clients give us, a budget to spend of their money because they want to advertise their business. Like every business should do, you should have an advertising budget. And a media buyer's job is to be able to effectively place advertising and develop strategies so that you get the most efficient, distribution of that money, preferably in the form of, a great return on that investment.
Did you like what you just heard? Well, let me tell you about this real quick. We want to expose you to something that's amazing, and that is the TSP Mastermind. If you are a business owner that's trying to reach your next 6, 7, or 8 figures in business, and you're looking for a community of like-minded, purpose-driven, and ethical entrepreneurs, and guess what? You're in the right spot. We have a 12-month program with one-on-one coaching, accountability, trainings, events, and more in order to help you reach the next level in your business. For more information, visit www.trafficsalesandprofit.com. So what you've also done over the years is you've kind of niched down on YouTube, right? Like, all right, so I want
almost by force, it feel like, but
almost by force. What you mean by that?
I mean, because it took me a long time to lean into that. Like it was one of them things where, 2012 I bought my first ad on YouTube. 2014 I spent $1 million on YouTube. I started telling people what I'm doing, and everybody in the marketing, all my other friends and all of us in the same type of space was like, you what? And it just became a life. It turned into a life of its own.
So it was not you sitting there one day like, man, I'm gonna dominate YouTube because nobody.
I had a buddy of mine tell me I should do that. Like early on, he was like, you could be the guy. You could etch your name and you could become the guy in this space because don't nobody have this right now. I ain't never heard nobody saying what you saying, right?
Yeah.
But still in my mind, it's just another notch on that's my mentality, right? Because I done bought every type of ad you can buy on the internet. Like, if you think of it, it's a way to buy an ad on the internet. I've done that. So in my mind, that's how I'm thinking about it. Like, video is going to be the last frontier, or maybe not the last frontier, but that's the next big wave that I see coming.
Right.
I got to get out in front of that wave. So that's all my mindset is. If I don't want to be a dinosaur in this game, I got to stay ahead of the curve, or, because I've seen guys come and go in this industry a lot. I'm 15 years in this now, so I ain't want to be that. That's what was driving me. So, the YouTube thing, it just kept I just couldn't never shake it. So I finally leaned into it.
So you didn't select, hey, like I'm gonna be the YouTube guy. It just kind of naturally happened that way.
After so long because, I started buying ads on YouTube in 2012. By 2014, I had spent $1 million on the platform. I started telling my colleagues and friends, people in the industry, how we all, talk and share ideas with each other. And folks was like, you what? You know what I mean? And from that, it just kind of became a life of its own. It kept being a thing. You know what I mean? It kept being a thing. And I just finally leaned into it because I used to be, I'm more than YouTube, I'm da-da-da-da-da, but like, didn't nobody care about that. They only wanted to be, they were like, okay, cool. Native ads, okay, display, okay, because I done bought everything that I can buy. I know how to do a lot of it, right? But people was like, that's cool, but tell me about these YouTube ads, you know what I mean? And I finally leaned in.
So what's interesting, right? I was talking to our mutual friend Kai recently, and I was, we was talking about the guru space. And I was telling Kai, I said, what's interesting for a lot of people, even if they want to be in the space where like, hey, I got subject matter expertise in certain things. Right. I said, a lot of people can't do it because of what you just said. A lot of people can't do it because of ego. Because they want people to know that I know all of this stuff.
Gotcha.
But most of the time when you're a guru or when you, like I said, whether you plan to be one or you become one, most of the time people know you for a thing.
They do.
And they put you kind of in that box for like, hey, they say, hey, like this the man or this the woman when it comes to that thing. But I feel a lot of times, even when people want to be in that space, it's like their ego of saying, but no, I can do all of this. I can do it. And like, I'm sure you can, but it's almost like if you fight to prove to everybody you can do all those other things, it diminishes the value that you are the go-to expert when it comes to YouTube. What's your thoughts on that?
1,000%. It diminishes you in so many ways because the conversation going on in their head is YouTube ads. The conversation I'm trying to get going on in their head is something else. And if I can't get them, that's a hard thing to do, to take the conversation out of somebody's head and plant another one in there without addressing what's already in there. And once I understood that, I leaned into that. And now, because I'm addressing the conversation in your head, I can then build bridges to take you other places.
Yeah, so I still can get you where I need to get to.
Exactly.
But like I said, most people, you can't even get there because they like, no.
They don't want to hear all that.
But in that first conversation, they like, but I can do this and I can do that. And the person like, but all I want is
I remember on speaking at an event, this probably like 2016, and then I got off stage and the line was out the door. And the guy, he probably stood in line an hour and a half to talk to me. And as soon as I started talking to him, he started talking to me, he talking about YouTube, and I'm asking him about his business. And then I started trying to explain to him something else he should do. And he got frustrated. Like he didn't care about because he waited all that time. He had a very specific thing that he wanted to discuss. Now, granted, to me, I'm trying to tell him, I don't think that's what you ought to do.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to hear that, And I remember that because I've had other instances prior to that, but that was probably like the third or fourth time. And I was like, hold on, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I need to step back and look at this because at the end of the day, people, they need help with what they're doing, but I got to meet them where they at. And that's how I end up leaning in.
All right, so take me back before, I know we're gonna get into some YouTube nuggets in a second, but take me back first, because were you a young boy in Mississippi, like, my goal one day is to be a media buyer when I grow up? Like, how'd you get into like this arm and leg of the business?
It's a long, drawn out story. Like, I'm gonna try to give y'all the clip notes, right? Now, like I always knew when I was young, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Me and Alex was having this conversation earlier. I didn't have the language of that, but I understood at a very young age that I didn't want to be working for or with people who don't know what they're talking about. And I understood at a very early age that I either need to be in a lane of doing things that I know, or I had a belief that I wanted to do. And in order to do that, I probably need to have a situation where I was in control to be able to do that, right? So I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur ever since I was young. Although I didn't say it like that, I knew that's what I wanted to do one day. But when I was in high school, I was in the computers, and a buddy of mine got me into computers actually. And I ended up computer engineering major. I got in the NASA space grant program my junior year in high school. So when I graduated high school, I was 2 years into that program. I went to college in that program. I had a guaranteed job at NASA, the whole nine. So I was on that track. And then, I got to college and turned up, you know what I'm saying? Partying and drinking and all of that. And I flunked out the program. Then I changed my major to business. And so, because that's kind of what I was naturally gravitated to anyway. Plus, even with computer engineering, when I was doing it, I didn't like the idea of having to sit behind a computer all day and just be coding. I wanted the social aspect of things. So business just really spoke to me, and I changed my major to that. Fast forward, I graduate, I get into management, and that's what I was doing for a while until 2007. I had heart failure. Me and you, I know we've talked about this before. I talk about this story all the time. I think it's important that I share, but I had congestive heart failure, man. I almost was out of here, right? And so I had to find, the doctors told me management was too stressful for somebody in my circumstance, and I needed to find another career.
Wow.
I need to find something else to do. And I had already...
Let me ask you real quick. At that point, were you like, but this is what I do, I'm making good money, I built up this path, were you like, well, I really don't want to do this no way, and I'm like mentally, where were you at that point?
I was in a transition. I had just left a company and started another company, and I wasn't even in 90 days into this new company. So mentally, the space that I was in was why me? Like, woe is me, like all of the dark stuff. You know what I mean? Because I was literally, before I got sick, I was already in this transitional phase trying to figure out what I wanted to do with myself. So I was already not really high. I've always been high on myself, but not in that moment. Like, I knew that I was underperforming my potential, and I was frustrated with myself about that more than anybody else. I was very, very frustrated with myself that I was not really performing at the level that I felt my potential is. So that just, and then that happened, and then it was just kind of like, I guess I don't know, man. And one day I was at a support group. They was trying to get me in these support groups or whatever. And I had went to one before that, but the second time I went, I walk in the room, it's probably about like 8 people in a round table. And when I sit down at the table, we all had going through the same thing. I could look at these people's eyes and I could see they all was dead already. Like, I could see into their soul that these people were dead. And in that moment, I had 2 kids at the time. I could only think about them. And all I could think about at that moment is get up out of here. And if I'm gonna die, I'm going out flaming.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my mentality is. So I had already dabbled around with the internet. So I knew it was a way. I was in computer engineering way back. So I already had a belief in the internet and technology being the future. So I just made a decision that, either this gonna work, or like my guy Neo say, either it gotta work or it's gonna work.
Gonna work, right?
And I just went all in. And my wife thought I was out of my mind, but I went all in with it because I felt like I ain't had no other option. Like, if either I'm gonna make this work or I don't know what's gonna happen to me. That's kind of what I did.
And shout out to Neo. We had Neo on the previous episode, man. I tell people all the time, I'm mad I ain't think about that first. That's like my favorite. That's like my favorite
I heard
saying,
him say
man.
that at an event or somewhere. It's either going to work or it's got to work. I was like, I like that.
Me too. All right, so you transition, you kind of get into the internet and dabble. How does it work where from the time you run your first YouTube ad to you get up to doing that first year where you spent like over $1 million in ads?
It happened fast. Well, you got to understand, 2007, heart failure, I get in the internet game full-fledged. I'm 10 toes in, I'm all the way in, right? I stumbled into affiliate marketing like 3-4 months in. I was doing, SEO, made for AdSense. I was trying everything, you know what I mean? And then I stumbled into affiliate marketing and I was trying to get traffic to my links. That was the mindset at the time. And I'm on a forum and some guys like, man, you should get a Google account. You should do Google ads. And there's this guy, Chris Carpenter, he got a program called Google Cash. You should try that. So I buy this guy's product and I study and I'm like, this all that is? When he got a Google account, once I logged in that first time I saw them ads, first time I had some ads run, I logged into it. It's just something about it, man. It just drew me in. And I was just telling my wife, I was like, I don't know what it is about this, but our life in the change. And she was like, whatever, we was broke too. We was like, we probably had $3,000-$4,000 in the bank. Like we was on the elect, and I ain't have no money coming in at this time.
Wow.
Cause I hadn't had the job. Remember when I got sick, I went 90 days. So when I got sick, I didn't even have a job. So 2007, the whole year, I made $5,000 to my name that year. So my wife was holding it down. So I'm in her mind, she like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, we broke, ain't no money coming in. What are you talking about? And you spending our money? Get out of here with that. You losing
buy
your
courses?
She calling my folks, my sister and my family is like, your brother is out of his mind. I think something wrong with him. I think I'm gonna have to get him committed. I don't know what's going on with him, right? And that's like late 2007. So 2008, I get my first commission with that. It was like $33, but I had spent like $3,000. And my wife was like,
hold on, I'm about to say, did you take her to check? We're like, look, baby, we making money online.
I was like, I told you it worked. She was like, what? You spent $3,000, $4,000, and you made $30, and I'm supposed to be happy? Boy, no, I'm finna get you committed. You out of your mind. And man, I would say probably from that point, maybe 4 months later, she followed me to the bank because I started reverse engineering. Because my mindset is once I saw it work, I know I'm a reverse engineer this and I'm gonna make it. And so when you fast forward from that, I ended up having success with that. You move forward to 2012 when I buy YouTube ad, I'm already 5 years in the game already. I had already went through the affiliate game. I made, like I say, 2007 made $5,000. 2008 I made almost $300,000.
Wow.
Right? Google shut me down late 2009. So by the time I get 2010, Google shut me down. I go bankrupt that year, right? But I ended up getting in the agency game because I was trying to make money. And a buddy of mine was like, I got these people that want somebody to run their ads for them. And I'm like, why would I do that? And he was like, because
at this point, you've been running this all for yourself.
Exactly.
Make your own money.
Agency, they'll pay you. And I was like, they'll pay me to do this? And I was like, sign me up. So that's how I got in the agency space. So then by the time 2012 get here, I already started spending. I done spent a couple $100,000 of my own money, and now I'm starting to handle hundreds of thousands of dollars of other people's money. So when I get to the YouTube thing, it was just me playing around with my own money. And then I had an idea, and I had a client at the time. His name is Kevin. He had a product called the Breakup Doctor. And I went to him with this idea that if we take your VSL, video sales letter, we're going to upload it to YouTube, and I'm going to buy these little ads in the recommended section over here. And when they click it, they're going to go and watch your video, your VSL, and then we're going to dump them off to your checkout page. And I think this is going to work. And he was like, you really think this is going to work? I said, dude, I really think this will work. And he was like, if you believe it'll work, whatever you say, bro. And man, that thing took off. And then I took that to another client and showed him what I was doing. And he was like, whatever you want to do. And boom, that thing took off. And so it just happened really, really fast. Like once I figured out a strategy, that was probably like 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months of playing around. I figured out that strategy. And once I put it to play, it started working. And then I just started showing it to other people and running that play for them. And it just started going crazy.
So you go from doing it yourself to doing an agency. You go from, one client to then multiple clients, and everything's popping off. That first year when you had managed and spent over $1 million on YouTube, was that like a reflection year for you? Was it like, man, because sometimes people like, you be in the weeds so much, you don't even realize what's going on, but you realize what was going on. And you said, like, you already said people around you was like, you did what? Like take us back to that.
I didn't tell nobody. I wasn't even telling nobody what I was doing, other than people that I knew that if I show them this, they'll let me run it, and there's a chance we can make money from it. But I wasn't really, because in my mind too, I'm probably a little more scarcity mindset then too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Being that the circumstance I had been through, I'm like, if I start telling everybody and teaching people, you know what I mean? They're gonna, you know how it is. So I wasn't really sharing it like that. I was just doing it. And then after I hit, 3 or 4, I probably had like 1 or 2 that didn't really pan out that great, but that's probably like 2 out of like 5 or 6 of them that I ran. Like 4 out of them 6, they went crazy, right? So I just didn't. I just was doing it, and then one day I was looking at the numbers, and I was like, "Wow!" Like I probably sat on that for a month before I even said anything to anybody. I couldn't even believe it. I was like, "This is crazy," you know what I mean? So I wouldn't even really, own it like that. I just was blown away by myself. And one day I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I was like, "Man, I spent $1 million on YouTube already." He was like, "What?" His name John Sugar. And John was like, "Yo, that's the guy I was just telling you about earlier." He was like, "You could be the guy." If he's like, "I ain't never heard nobody." Then he told me, he said, "If you teach this, I'll promote it. We'll do a webinar together." And at the time, this guy was doing 6-figure webinars. So all I could think of was like, yeah, I think I'm finna teach this. I'm gonna teach this. But his mindset was, you need to share this because it's gonna really give you, a whole nother level. And then teaching it is gonna make you better at it, and you know what you're doing. So right. A lot of these dudes out here teaching, they don't even know this stuff they talking about. So he was like, "Dude, I really think," he said, "so much so I'm willing to do a webinar with you if you're willing to teach it." And I'm like counting money in my head. So I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then that's how other people started finding out what I was doing.
So let me ask
Shout out John Sugar.
Right. So let me ask you, back that year, right, you do $1 million ad spend just on YouTube. What's some of the lessons that you learned? Because as you start ramping that up, it had to be some lessons in there, some nuggets and some pitfalls, if you remember back to then.
I mean, it wasn't really, it kind of ran kind of flawless, to be honest with you at first. I ain't really started running into trouble until probably like 2016, probably. Because at the time, you got to remember, or maybe y'all don't know this, but Google, YouTube, obviously owned by Google, YouTube was still not a predominant like unit within the Google ecosystem where they was investing a lot of resources into.
Yeah.
YouTube was still like a stepchild almost within that. So it kind of was like Wild Wild West. Anything goes.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really running into a lot of issues. It seemed like everything I was throwing up was working at one point. 2016 was when I got brought down to reality, you know what I mean?
You know what makes me think about is, I think the first time I ran a Facebook ad might have been probably like around that same time. But I was telling somebody back then, I had like no idea what I was doing.
It'd be working.
But I was like, put up an ad, send that thing to my sales page, and people just start buying, right? It was like, you had to know what you was doing, you had to know you was targeting. Yep. It's just like ad, money, sales, right? Like that. So I remember those days.
Yep.
So, all right, so you go on. So once you're at that $1 million year, you said you start training a little bit.
Yep.
The word, I'm imagining, starts to get out, and that's how you kind of become an influencer among influencer.
Yeah.
Like what were the next steps? Like how did you go from that? Because I know we've talked in the past about, you running 70,000 plus a day in ad spend.
Yeah.
Is that all like around the same time, or like a couple years kind of
probably? This is probably 20. Yeah, this probably about that time. But this display, 70 grand a day, that was display. So the most I spent on one ad account per day, like consistently, was about 70,000 a day. But we was doing probably 90% display ads at that time. So we probably got close to that record, over time. But that was a different scenario. But we learned. I mean, I learned a lot of things, man. Just like over the, just as you start playing with that kind of money, like, you learn a lot of things. But yeah, that's probably around about that time. I'm just trying to get my, what's the name? This probably 2012, 2013 ish. When we was really doing the display HUD. And by the time I got into YouTube, I started doing more and more YouTube because I kept getting, those were the deals that were coming to me.
Okay, yeah.
So that's how I started transitioning out of because display is really kind of where I started at. It's called Google Content Network back then. It's called the Google Display Network now. That's really where I made my bones at. So for them first 5 or 6 years, I was getting a lot of my deal flow because of that. And then when these YouTube things started happening, I started getting less of those opportunities and more of the YouTube opportunities even though I was fighting it, it kept coming. So, obviously you be smart and you take advantage of them,
So you had the account when you did 70,000 a day. And you said since then you've had some that come close to it.
Right.
When you're running those kind of numbers daily, which I know some people can't even comprehend.
Yeah.
There's like, man, give me 70,000 my business in a year, right? So 70,000 a day.
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like for people that may be unaware, right? Like I said, can't even wrap their mind around it. Like what are you focusing? Are you focusing on the same things that you focus on the smaller level? Like, hey, what's the conversion metrics? What's the creative? Like with that, is it?
Nah, not exactly. I think the biggest difference is understanding the power of your bullhorn, if you will. Like you just got a bigger bullhorn, and it's creating other behavior that you may not understand that's happening. When you're on a small scale, that behavior that you're creating is such a small percentage of what you're doing that you can't really measure it. It's hard to measure, but when you really doing big numbers like that, you're creating this other behavior, and now it's really more measurable. It's still a small percentage of what you do, but it's a lot more measurable. And then you have to really look at the totality of this money you're spending versus, tunnel vision of I'm running this ad to this funnel and this is what these people are doing. And then the more you start spending, the more you're creating awareness. Then people are going to your socials and doing all of these other things. So it's really just having a better understanding overall of what your advertising is actually doing for you rather than just being so tunnel vision.
That reminds me, I was having a conversation with Ronnie recently, and we sure ain't running $70,000 a day yet.
Right.
But as we started increasing ad spend and doing more, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was telling her, I said, I think a lot of these people that we're getting in front of, we won't even see the total repercussions of that until 100%. A year later or so, to where like, hey, they kind of just aware, right? And we kind of like the very top of the process. But like you said, it ain't like, hey, we spend all this money, they all gonna see it, get into a challenge, buy something next week.
Correct.
But like I said, like these will be the people we see at next year's conference.
Right.
These will be the people that join the mastermind 2 years from now.
Bingo.
And playing that long money game, and not so much like, hey, I put $1 in a day and I got to get $2 out tomorrow, and if I don't, it's not successful.
Correct. That's not how you scale. It's not linear. Scale is not linear like that to me. Yeah. I mean, somebody else might have another way, but for me, it's not. You don't scale linear. It's all of the other things. It's a lot more to it than that, but it's not complicated. I think most people think it's complicated. It's not really complicated. It's just having a different perspective on what you're doing rather than, I don't know. People just, I see it's a mindset thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
If you don't know, you don't know. And I get that, but it's not complicated. It's just having a different way that you approach what you do and how you measure the success of what you're doing. And for people who really want to scale their business and they have a long-term vision of what they're building, it's a different way you can approach it. I mean, some people can scale and still, be profitable in doing that. And it really is a cash generating, that's the mindset that they're in. But most people that I've dealt with, that scale, they're not really it's not a cash return, immediate cash return mindset. It's really like, how do I get more people into my ecosystem and serve them at a bigger level, because then it's going to create a bigger outcome, if you will. So that's how they look at it.
Hold on, let's stay here for a second. This is good, because I recently was having some conversations where we were talking about just this, right? The fact that, like you said, like not, hey, I got to get this in today, I got to get it out tomorrow. But the fact that, hey, long money is good.
Absolutely.
And also the fact that I was talking to some newer entrepreneurs, and I was saying, you got to watch comparing yourself against companies where you don't know what they're doing.
100%.
Because you are maybe bootstrapping it, using your own money, and you in a situation where you don't have the cash flow.
Absolutely.
Like you gotta, hey, put $1 in now. I gotta get $2 out, or at least $1.50 out, because I can't afford to lose. But you're comparing yourself against another company where, hey, I'm just burning cash just to acquire customers.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm operating probably not even break even. I'm losing money, intentionally,
Absolutely.
just to, like you said, a mass audience and customer base, so that 2 years from now we'll be profitable.
Bingo.
But we may not even be profitable unless we spend X amount of dollars per month, per year, get in front of, so many customers. But, meantime, the bootstrap entrepreneur is looking at them like, I need to do what they're doing.
Correct.
I mean, I'm assuming you've been out, you told me you've been out in Silicon Valley, and it's two different ball games being played. But also, I feel like people aren't even aware that who they comparing themselves against is a whole different end game. The goal is different.
True. Look, I think, honestly, I also think that when you are, early in your bootstrapping, I think you have a lot of advantage in the marketplace that we in the climate that we in now. I mean, I don't think this is always going to be true because you got to understand technology is emerging. So a lot of this stuff is still emerging. We're all figuring it out. You know what I mean? As good as I can talk about what I do, I'm still figuring things out too. I just have I got more historical reference than most people because I've been doing digital marketing 15 years already. So that's the advantage that I have, but there's still things that I got to figure out and a lot of these big companies, they figuring this stuff out too. So I think, to be able to be agile and move quickly is actually an advantage. But I do agree with you. I think, it's two different ball games. The thing that I see a lot of people do, though, is they don't understand how to transition from one mindset into another mindset because there's levels to this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like you need to operate if you got to get more than $1 back today for every dollar you put in, figure out the strategy that does that and do that. But eventually, if you want to get to another level, that's not going to get you there. You're going to have to reevaluate a new way of doing that. And you're going to have a different mindset to allow you to be, to be able to go there and then so forth. So it's levels to it. So that's the thing I see most people do. They just fail to, expand their mindset, surround themselves with people that can guide them and show them, those things. Because look at the position you in now, like with your community and your clients, like the things that you can show them that you done did from, you bootstrapped into where you are now. Everything leading up to that, you already know a lot of that stuff. And so a lot of people will just be stuck in whatever they're doing, and then they won't let nobody else that can, show them. That's really what I see a lot of people do. They just get stuck in their mindset. The ones that are willing to elevate their mindset, them be the ones that gonna win. And that's really all it was about at the end of the day.
Man, that's so good. The other day, somebody was telling me, somebody was frustrated with their growth, and they were telling me that, hey, well, to get to this point, I did this, this, and this, and this. And they were mad they were having to do other stuff.
Absolutely.
But I was saying, what you said, like, hey, that's cool. But to get to the next level, like all that stuff you did was just to get to the starting line. Like you can't say like, hey, I'm just going to double down on the stuff I was already doing. Because like you said, it's going to require a totally different mindset, totally different strategy.
Yep.
And just like how you acted out, you can't just think I'm doing more of the same.
Absolutely.
At a certain point, more of the same don't work.
I think you hit a ceiling. You hit a ceiling if you just keep doing more of the same. It's only going to take you so far. I mean, granted, I see people who max out the same, like they milk that thing. You know what I mean? I feel like you one of those people. It's like when it work, Lamar gonna milk it until it ain't working no more. And then he gonna elevate.
People always ask me, they be like, well, what you working on now? I be like, same thing I was working on before. I said, we sell the same 3 things in the same 2 conferences, right?
Yeah.
We gonna run it to the wheels fall.
Yeah.
All right, so somebody's watching. I want to make sure we give them some things they can implement and do, right?
Sure.
I want to talk to a few different people. For the earlier stage business owners, I'm just kind of starting out, right? And you hit something. I didn't stop when you said it, but you hit something in passing. You said, yeah, something about advertising. You said, yeah, everybody should advertise.
Absolutely.
Then you kept going. But a lot of new business owners, are not thinking, and even with me, we didn't advertise in the beginning with Black and Married with Kids. It was a point though, when I just had my own, like no one even told me, I just got it one day and I was like, hold up. Because we had like a lot of organic traffic. But I was like, hold up. I said, if Coca-Cola advertise, if McDonald's advertise, if Nike advertise, what made me think that we don't have to? And since then, it just changed. But so y'all, you need to advertise. Like, let's just get past that. Right? You need to spend time with that. You need to advertise. So people know about what you're doing, and I probably that's the number one issue I run in with new entrepreneurs now. They got a great product or service. Nobody just
Don't
know about
nobody
it.
know about it.
And they trying to figure out every other thing to do other than spend money on advertising.
Correct.
And then when they say I don't have money to spend money on advertising, 6 months later, they spent so much money on other stuff trying to compensate the business that I'm really like, for the last 6 months, you stayed afloat. You could have just put that in advertising 6 months ago and you'd be further down the line. So let me get off my soapbox. I got excited when you said that. But for the person just starting out, right, and they say, hey, I want to, leverage YouTube and I want to kind of get in from the ground level. What are some things they should know or some things maybe they should do?
I mean, it starts with the offer at the end of the day. It's like, are people going to buy what you're selling? Like, even if you ain't running no ad, like, even if you don't spend no money on ads, can you get people to give you money on a consistent basis? To me, that's the first thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I think every business should advertise. I think every business should be on YouTube advertising, to be honest with you. And I'm not, Google don't pay me to say that. Yeah. I mean, I'm just keeping it a buck. But I think that's the key thing is, if you can't consistently get people to give you money for whatever you're selling, you're going to, buying advertising, you're probably going to struggle. So that's really the first thing. But if you got to that point, and I don't really care what kind of business, if you could consistently get people to give you money for whatever you're selling, advertising is probably the thing you want to look at. And then it's really about understanding, the offer and how you structure that in such a way that sets you apart or somewhat unique to every other option out there. Like, why should people choose you over, whatever the other thing? And if you can't really define that, you really need to talk to people, customers, potential prospects, whatever the case may be, and figure out what make you different, what make you unique. It could be as simple as your personality. Like, some people just buy from people because they make them laugh or they make them feel good or whatever the case. Tap into that, you know what I mean? So you got something that separates you from everybody else. And that's the thing you really want to, dial in on around what it is that you're selling that can separate you. That's really the key. And then from there, then it's really about, who am I selling to? Being really clear about the people that you're selling to and understanding them as good as, or maybe even better than them. And that requires a lot of research. And a lot of times people don't be like, I don't want to. Okay, hire somebody to do the research, but get some research on your target audience so that you understand them enough. Because without that, you don't know what to be saying to them to even get them to care about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So if you can do those things, it's really not that hard, bro. In the grand scheme of things, I get it. It sounds complicated, but at its core level, it's really like, I got something that people consistently are buying. I know I got something good. I know I'm creating transformation or whatever it is that you're selling. I'm clear on who I'm selling to, and I understand how to speak to them. And if you feel that, if you can get those things in order, you can buy ads on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can get ads anywhere, really. That's really the core of it, to be honest with you.
That's good. All right, so I got two other sets of people, right? I want to go up a level, and I see a lot of entrepreneurs. Most time they're in multiple six figures.
Yeah.
Maybe they're doing 200, 500,000, 600,000. They've ran some advertising, most time on Facebook. But then they get to a level where they like, hey, maybe one thing is nothing to have Facebook slow down, whatever like that. But they get to a point where saying like, hey, I need to diversify, or I need to get broader, and I need to touch more spaces. So for those people that are already running advertising, maybe doing six figures, in ad spend a year, like, what should they be doing next, or what should they be thinking about when it comes to YouTube?
This was so easy. Get in the room, straight up. Get in the room with people that's already doing it. It's like the fastest way to accelerate what's already working is get in the room with people that are doing that. Because the literally, bro, the difference between, like, if you already got it, the train already going, to make that thing really like accelerate, it's very few levers you gotta really. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's really not a lot when you already got momentum. It takes way less. You talked about this actually, the flywheel approach.
Yep, the flywheel.
Once that flywheel moving, it's way easier to make it go faster than it is to get it going.
Exactly.
Because that first group you're talking about, they trying to get the flywheel going.
Exactly.
You got to exert a lot of energy at that phase. Once you got it moving, It's not that many things that can just. And the quickest way you do that, you got to get in the room with the people that's doing that. To me, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, I love it. And
Yep.
now the third group is those people, maybe they doing millions, multiple millions, and they like, how can I scale to be one of these 50 million, 70, 80 million dollar businesses? How can I get up to, $70,000? And they already kind of broke through the initial mindset stuff.
Yep.
And they like, hey, I want to scale. Like, what does scale look like for these companies?
Team. I mean, just the right people. You know what I mean? You got to hire the right people. You got to, you know what I'm saying? Like, getting in the room help with that too. Always, because there's so many levels with these rooms, bro. Like, these rooms got levels, the upper room, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got them upper rooms and stuff. So you just, that's a big thing but to me, like when you start talking about, oh, I'm making 2, 3, 5 million, 10 million, and I want to go to 50 million, 100 million, team is gonna be the difference of whether you do. I mean, you ain't even the reason anymore. How smart and dope and amazing you are don't even matter no more when you start hitting them numbers. There's gonna be how strong are the team of people that you have is whether or not you're gonna get there. It ain't gonna have nothing to do with you when you start hitting them levels.
I need to edit this clip and I'm gonna play this because I've been having this conversation with people and they're not listening. And as we've been working with entrepreneurs, I was telling a group recently, from the people that's around 1 million and the people that's charting towards 10 and going beyond. Yeah. Since we got like so many in our ecosystem, I'm always studying like what's the difference between these people that move. Yep. And what I saw is between that 1 million and beyond, it's like you said, it's team.
Yeah, man.
Number one thing. I told them like everybody moving to 10 and beyond past got team around them. They got experts around them.
They got an amazing team around them.
And most people, and like I said, it's a mindset shift.
Yep.
Because they can get to 1 million with no team or low team a lot of times.
Absolutely.
And I've got a few people, I got a few things, but like the folks I know that's moving and they moving fast, like you said, they got departments. Mm-hmm. They got like I said, they done brought in somebody that came in not just with know-how, but experience from another place that they leveraging on top of. Now I know how to do this, and this is how we did it in my own spot to kind of accelerate. Like I said, the flywheel already moving to accelerate your growth, and every time one of those people gets in, I'm like, you can directly attribute the growth of the business to adding these people into the process.
I mean, I got clients 9 figures, you know what I'm saying? So I done seen it firsthand. I'm not just talking mumbo jumbo, like you said, Silicon Valley. I had the opportunity to spend, I spent like 2 years hardcore there, 2015 to 17, and then probably 17 to 19 or 2020 almost. I still was doing things with them, but for like 2 years, really hardcore. And I mean, that's kind of was a big mindset shift for me as well. And I started being able to see things differently. And hands down, like I don't think I've seen a company 8 figures up not be there because team was it's probably 100% of the time. Maybe there's one person.
Just to talk about it, right? It's like it's something you going, it's snuck through, ads hit at the right time or something like that.
It's always an exception to the rule.
Yeah, and that's what everybody want to point at. They like, well, they can do it without people. And
it's not. It's not.
Yeah,
not that I've seen.
That's good. I love that. All right. How can people get in touch with you? How should they connect with you, hit you if they want to learn more, they want to get into any courses, anything like that?
Tommie Traffic, just like my name with an IE. You can find me at my website, TommieTraffic.com, my social media, all Tommie Traffic. I don't really do Twitter like that. They won't let me log in no more for some reason. They won't let me in my account. I don't think they banned me, but I just can't get access to it. YouTube, I'm starting to post a little bit more. Instagram, I'm trying to do a little bit better. Facebook has been predominantly in the past where I kind of, post or whatever the case may be. I don't publish as much as I should. I'm trying to fix that. But yeah, you can find me, and then I got some things out there. So if you look me up, on those channels, or you go to my website, you'll be able to find ways to tap in.
All right, perfect. Any last words you want to give to the people?
Yeah, man. I just think every business, if they really want to build something significant, you know what I'm saying? Like, they really need to, evaluate, how they, think about, advertising. Just, like my thing is scale. Like I'm a scale mentality when it comes to this game. And so I just want to see more people that look like me doing it at the levels that I think we should be doing it. I feel like we have the best products. We drive culture. We do a lot of great things, man. And I don't think our businesses are flourishing at the level that they should. And so I just hope everybody, take, from whatever I can share with them and find other ways to get there. But I'm just looking forward to people, just blowing it up and doing it big. I really think, it's our time. You know what I mean? I think it's our time. And so just be open-minded, just think bigger, you know what I mean? And just push and go for it and tap in with the communities and the people who got the sauce and got the game that want to share. And I really want to see us win big, like big, like Silicon Valley big. I want that for us, and we should, because we make these platforms hot. Instagram, all of these platforms, we don't want to make them hot. So we need to start monetizing off of all of that, and so hopefully this, stuff that we talk about helping people mindset with that.